This is a quick little introductory video to values. What are values? And why are we talking about this? Because values are one of the three themes of wisdom. Values guide wise action. The people we think of as wise are pursuing values that we think are worth pursuing. So, what the heck are values? Let's get a bit of a definition. Values define two things. They define the ends we want to achieve, and they also define the means that we feel are appropriate to achieve those ends. So when we're thinking about ends, we're thinking about what are our goals? What is it that we want to what is it that we want to do? When we're thinking about means, we're thinking about how do we do this, okay? So we might, as an end, we might want the goal of, we want to be able to, we want financial security. That might be a goal, that might be a value that we're pursuing, financial security. Now, what are the means that are appropriate to achieve those goals? Is it okay to, steal money to get your financial security? You hopefully do not believe that it is. So that's a value. A value defines what is appropriate and what is inappropriate means to achieve the goals that you have. Okay? So, what is it that wise leaders need to know about values? Well, there are a lot of things that wise leaders need to know about values. Starting in the top left-hand corner, we have terminology. So we need to have a language that we can use to speak about values. We need to have terms because that helps us, gives us conceptual tools to understand, to plan, to strategize, and to communicate with others. So in this course, I'm going to teach you two different frameworks of values. I'm going to teach you a framework of values that look at values in the public sector and public sector organizations. And then I'm going to provide another framework that explores political values. Now, when you look at each of these frameworks, there are multiple values within each. So the public sector value framework has something like around 27 different values that it identifies. The political value framework has 12 values. And it's important to remember that there's more than just these two frameworks. Frameworks are just tools, conceptual tools that we use to try to understand and make sense of our environment. So these are two frameworks that I focus on here. And just with these two frameworks, you can start to appreciate that there are a lot of different types of values that drive human behavior. Humans are complex. And so we have a complex system of values that guide our actions. So because there are so many different values, these values do not exist in isolation. They exist together in social systems. Different people pursue different values. And so we're going to have a whole bunch of different interactions between people pursuing different values. One of these actions I've already talked about, they're means versus ends, right? So not all values are equal. Some values are things that we want to achieve because they're our goals. Other values we follow because we feel that they are appropriate methods to achieve our goals. So if a value is an appropriate method to achieve our goals, we call that an instrumental value. This value is instrumental in helping us achieve something else. So an instrumental value is not something we're achieving for the sake of it. It's something that we're using to try to achieve something else. The value that's the goal, the value that's the end point that we're trying to achieve, we call that a terminal value. So terminal values are the goals that we're trying to achieve. Instrumental values are the means that we feel are appropriate to achieve those goals. Now, we have a lot of values operating in an organization. In an organization, you're going to have many different groups and many different people, and each of those groups are going to be pursuing different values. And so there's different ways that these values can interact in an organization, right? So you might have one group pursuing one set of values and a different group pursuing another set of values, and they build on each other. They ally together very nicely. They create synergies. They work well together. Yay, that's great. You might have other situations where one group's pursuing one value, a different group's pursuing a different value, and they're totally unrelated. That's fine. At least you're not fighting with each other, so yay. But they're not really building on each other either, so that happens. And then you're going to have these situations where one group's pursuing one value and that compromises another group's pursuit of their own values. Values can sometimes be incompatible within an organization, and this is where a lot of conflicts in organizations arise. And so we need to study how do organizations resolve these types of conflicts between values. And in this course, I'm going to present to you some frameworks that explore how do organizations manage these types of conflicts. So there's a number of different ways. You see some terminology here: firewall, cycling, bias, and others. When you get into the assigned reading, you're going to learn all about those types of things there. But these are the ways that organizations manage these conflicts. So these are the things that wise leaders need to know about values. They need to have terminology and a language that they can use to discuss it. They need to understand how values can interact in an organization, and they need to understand how organizations manage conflict between different types of values. Now, we're going to be exploring this in the assigned reading, and we're going to be looking at a lot of different cases and real life examples to see organizations going through this. So get into the assigned reading, get in the class discussion, and we can start to dive really deeply into this and get a rich understanding of how values guide wise action.